Okay.
All right, we will reconvene the October 2nd, 2017 meeting of the Delaware County Board of Commissioners and to discuss the Evans Farm bonding. So I'll turn it over to our prosecutor, and you could walk us up, or lead us up, or bring us up to date.
Sure. Eric Costello, Assistant Prosecuting Attorney. What we were working on today, and actually for the last couple of weeks, was hoping that we would be able to have everything in place in order to have the board, recommend to the board, approval of the plat for Section 1 Evans Farm. A critical piece of that, in order, since the improvements are not yet constructed, is having that bonding in place. And it's become apparent that that's not going to be finalized today. So both myself and the engineer's office, we're not recommending that you consider approval of that plat today. And we're going to continue to work on a couple of different options with the hope that we can bring this back for approval later this week. What we're working on is kind of two separate paths, one of which we hope works. One would be the developer obtaining either directly or through their contractor a subdivision bond, which is in a form that is very familiar to the county. We've accepted on most other subdivision projects similar to this one. The other is the contractor has provided, the contractor for the developer to construct these improvements has provided a performance bond as well as a payment bond, and working out some way of assigning that performance bond to the county to make sure that the county's owner's agreement is also secured via that bond. Those are the two kind of parallel pathways that we're working on, and just not able to get response from the surety today in time for you to consider it. But we'll continue working, and I think that we can all do our best to give assurances to the, I know a concern is the parade of homes that's been expressed by the developer, that's been expressed by the commissioners. We can all do our best to reassure the BIA that this site is going to be ready for that parade, and we're all working towards a solution that should be achieved yet this week, hopefully. So I'm happy to answer any detailed questions, but that's kind of just in a general way where we're headed.
Is there general optimism that they can do this by Thursday, or could you detect that from this conversation?
My understanding is that messages have been relayed to the surety, and they're considering them. Certain demands of the county are not likely to be accepted, but with the options that we're talking about, I think that with a couple more days' work, we can get it to where we can have a bond in place to approve the plat. So I'm somewhat cautiously optimistic.
Second attorney's assessment.
You understand that I'm not the one talking to these folks, so I have to hedge quite heavily.
Right.
I'm not the one talking to the surety, I mean.
Okay.
Which I'm happy to, if at any moment that you think it would help, or anyway, I'm happy to get involved in the conversation so they can understand where we're coming from.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah, let's do that.
Okay.
Thank you, Eric.
Yeah.
Thanks for all your work.
Dan Griffin with Evans Farm. I just wanted to clear up. So what we did is we got a bond to cover the 15624 that's for, they were off-site improvements on Lewis Center, but we redefined them when we all got together for the big meeting as on-site. So we have that in this bond. We also put in this bond about $6.7 million for the on-site improvements that we estimated, because last week we weren't sure what that number was. Chris verified that that's a 6.5 number. So we got the amounts right, and we got the bond here in time for today. The language in the bond isn't acceptable to you guys. We did sign an assignment over from a practical standpoint, hoping that we could assign this bond to you, which it's fully assignable, so you're covered, but you're not quite covered if you had to give notice of taking, I don't know how it all works, but the bottom line is, it's functionally, we're trying to get there, and we'll be able to get there sooner than later, and even if we have to go a different route. And I mean, our surety said, why don't you just post $10 million in cash, which would be great if I didn't already spend 12 already. So, thank you for, if you got any questions, we need to get this done, obviously.
I have no questions at this time.
Yeah, I don't have any other questions. I mean, we've certainly been talking about this for the last few days, so.
So we were just talking about it. So I don't know how I don't want to leave the room and then have the parade call us and say, well, you guys didn't get your plat signed, we talked to so-and-so, and they're not sure if they'll ever get done. So I don't know how would we get it supported, but we'll get this worked out by the end of this week. And by the end of this week, frankly, we'll probably have another $1.5 million of infrastructure in. So the 6.5 bond will, effectively, we're not going to worry about decreasing it as we go. We just got to get it done. We got 30 days to get all this stuff in. So I appreciate your support, really. Just
I'd just like to thank our staff. They've been working, the engineers staff, I know, was working too on Saturday, went into the office. A lot of people have been working really hard on this from our standpoint, from
Yeah, I
our
know.
end. So
Eric's been working on it over the
appreciate
weekend. Yeah, there's a lot of people, again, there's a lot of people trying to make it work.
Yeah.
So,
We just make sure to do it right.
yeah, we have to do it.
Yeah, we've got to get it right, yeah.
So, okay, well, with nothing else, we will adjourn until, and hopefully we'll see it on Thursday.